announcement or piece of information about your firm. And then tell them about the benefits. So you've got to completely reinforce whatever that employment value proposition is, whatever the reason is that people choose to work at your firm. You've got to be consistently clear on those points and message that out in every piece of communication. The other piece to this, and it's up to your choice on if you want to approach this, but companies, your competitors in similar type firms, if you've got awareness in the market, their current employees are absolutely looking at your website to see what's available for jobs. One of the tactics that we've seen work extremely well is bolding the idea of this being a confidential sign-up. So the confidentiality around a candidate to come and type in their first name and their information, but has some confidence that their information is going to be confidential, will absolutely increase the numbers of candidates you're able to attract, or it'll help you build your talent networks, pipelines, and ultimately your talent community. So the confidential piece is really critical, and you may include a privacy policy around that. But we found without this, the drop-off and the difference is fairly substantial. So something to keep in mind. You're not going to get a top-notch sales rep from one of your competitors sending their resume to hr@company.com and hoping it gets picked up. Basically, if they're a passive candidate and they go look at your site to see what's going on, there may not be a job opportunity that's available, but they say, you know what, yeah, I'll sign up for the sales talent network because I want to stay up to date with what's going on over there, and there may be an opportunity that I want to move on. So a great way to capture leads, essentially. Send job alerts. The whole point of this is to leverage this group. So the core component of this is they need to know about your open job opportunities so they can forward this on to their networks, but also have the ability to apply. So if you're not communicating with them these open opportunities, then that's going to be a real challenge. The other component that I'll mention, if you do have an applicant tracking system, it's very highly likely that they've got a functionality built in around job alerts. So when candidates apply for a job, you've got the option to have them fill out some job alert information so that anytime a marketing job gets opened up in your system, everyone that's said they're a marketing person can automatically get an email. So I encourage you to look at that functionality in your system because a lot of this can be automated from a job alert perspective. And most importantly, if you're, it's, I guess not necessarily most importantly, but use these things, right? Develop a plan and develop a strategy. If you get excited about this for a week and then drop off, don't expect results. I don't think this is something that you need to spend 40 hours a week on. Actually, I know it's not, but you do need to commit an hour or 2 hours a week. And somebody on your team can very easily potentially go execute on this. So you may have somebody maybe junior within your organization or somebody who's got a specialty around marketing that may be in your HR department that can absolutely go execute on this. But figuring out what that weekly plan looks like will be critical. And the key thing again is leverage these candidates, right? If they're not getting emails from you, you're not asking them for referrals, essentially this all goes to a waste of time. So what will you need? You need some kind of a database, and I highly recommend, again, that if you don't have an applicant tracking system or the one that works fairly well, you need to look at one. Your applicant tracking system should be able to do this. For those of you who are applicant tracking system friendly or knowledgeable, the way this can be done is these can just be separate jobs. You can create a job that essentially is sales talent network, marketing talent network, and that's a simple way to set this up and manage those candidates in that group. You need an email campaign solution. So if you've got that functionality within your applicant tracking system, then great. If not, I'd speak to marketing. They may have a solution already, but I'd look at some way to kind of track your email campaigns and do some measurements on them. Reports to your CEO. I'm going to give you a quick sample report in a couple slides from here, but this is a huge opportunity for you if you're in HR within your organization to really kind of up the overall optics of what you're doing internally to the executive team. If you're not only showing up on a weekly basis in meetings and saying here's where we're at with our open statuses, but here's what we're deploying, this talent network approach to lower time to hire and improve candidate quality and update on those talent network growth, on a monthly basis, this could be a huge win for you internally. And certainly there isn't a CEO in North America right now who's not across this idea that they need to, the war for talent is very real, and recruitment has got to be front and center with all of these guys, and it typically is. So this will be a potential huge win for you to talk around planning for maybe a next quarter, next year, or even updating on a monthly basis around this. And then finally, a strategy. You need a plan for this. You can't ad hocly do this. You need to spec it out. You need to figure out what the purpose is and the objective. How are you going to advertise to these guys, and then what's the process, and how are you going to manage them? So my view on it is we've built these programs, and as simply as 10 slide decks. It needs to be high level on what you're going to do, but certainly a program that you need to put in place, in my opinion. A couple of key principles in mind. Are they Gen Y candidates? If so, use language that speaks to them. Interesting job descriptions. If you send out jobs that have got the standard internal HR job description with 95 bullets, you're wasting your time. That's not marketing material. That's just a boring read a lot of the time. So think about your content that's going out and think of it as marketing. And that even goes for your current job descriptions for any open job. But when you go message to somebody, join our talent network, it needs to be attractive on why. Interesting job titles, again, we've talked about this in the past, but just to kind of touch on it, it's marketing. So yes, that role internally may be called something, but you may have an opportunity to go reword it so you can attract better talent, more talent. Focus on your company's benefits and your employment value proposition. What are the 5 reasons somebody wants to come work for you? Make onboarding reflect what the candidate has seen thus far. So this is more recruitment process, but it is critical. This is a great way to cripple your employment brand. Is you need to be consistent on your messaging with what the onboarding piece looks like. And you may even want to explain that onboarding piece in some of your value proposition. If you've got a great training program, speak to it. Advertise your talent community, and there's two great channels to do it. There's probably the best one, obviously, is Facebook right now. This is a great opportunity for, again, for you to build some brand awareness within that group, but also to encourage people to join your Facebook group. And it works both ways, because someone could join your talent network and they can join your Facebook group after, or they could join your Facebook group and then be directed to join your talent network. So a really great way to virally drive candidate flow and to get, essentially we always view Facebook and a Facebook page as a mini career site as well. So it could be a mini campus recruiting site that would link back into a campus recruiting site in general, but use that tool. Keep the process quick. You're going to lose people if it takes them 10 minutes to get involved in this, and the information needs to be frequent and timely. And if every 2 weeks I'm going to get a message, then great, right? If I get a message, this week and I don't hear again from them for 6 months, and then I get 5 emails in 8 weeks, that's probably not a very well planned out communications plan. Quick advertising suggestions: major job boards, the social networks. Online, you very likely have employees who have their own personal blogs that may or may not be based on what they do from a professional perspective. This is a great opportunity to have them put something on their blog to help encourage people to join your company's talent network. So I'd have a look at that internally. I know tech companies, very likely that you'll have a couple people that probably blog more specifically on the product side and development side, because they love this stuff. Other sources, again, I think that if you look at user groups, you look at some of the niche job boards, you look at even some of your trade shows, right? On-site recruiting or career fairs. This is another opportunity to get these people engaged, because you may get a good flow of resumes, and what do you do with them, right? Some people try to make hires right away, because typically we got to hire a whole bunch of people, so let's just hire as many as we can, and you forget about the ones you didn't hire, the ones that came in late in the process. So this is a great opportunity to leverage that as well. Things to think about. If you look at the kind of the pyramid approach here, there's your strategy, which is going to include what are your key objectives, some key KPIs or key performance indicators to measure what you're doing. The tactics basically that go into accomplishing those individual strategies. And a strategy here could be create talent networks for these 5 departments, because you've always got to hire. There's a challenge to hire those departments. The tactics would then be, okay, the tactic to go build our marketing talent network is A, B, C, and D. And then finally, the programs to execute on that. What does that look like from a frequency perspective? So we're going to send an email out to the marketing, maybe you go buy a marketing list, right? And you send them an email every 2 weeks. So this can be fairly simple, but this is just a suggestion on how to structure it. And then you see here as well, just go back a slide there. You see the media and messaging channels. Put great thought into how and what messages you're sending to that subsegment. If you take too much of a generic approach, you'll have a tough time leveraging that group. Okay, so theoretically now you're ready to start doing this, which may be a strong aspiration on my end. But so just go to the next slide here. Things to do here, basically integrating your process. You got to review what you're currently doing. What do you do with rejected candidates? What do you do with candidates that send in a general application? Use your talent community as a sourcing tool. So look at how you're leveraging past applicants and people who are sending in generic information. How are you leveraging these individuals from a viral email campaign perspective, but to leverage their network? And then reach out directly to your pipeline candidates. There is something in here that's called a phone, right? I mean, I know we talk a lot about email and web, but if you've got people in your pipeline, pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, we've got an open requisition. Want to chat with you about it. This is absolutely what an agency does. So these are best practices that you can incorporate into this and communicate back out to them. The next piece you got to integrate is figure out a way to send job alerts. And maybe that's every 2 weeks, maybe that's every month. It'll heavily depend on what your hiring demand is. But if you've got the ability to send customized job alerts, then great. And again, look at your ATS functionality that you currently have or your current technology, and it should have this technology built into it. And then keep track of who does and who doesn't move forward. This is something that list needs to be consistently scrubbed. So again, from a leads list perspective, from a sales and marketing side, you need to always scrub your lists, right? You don't want to keep on hitting people that have opted out or people that just don't exist. You don't want to keep on hitting them. So make sure that you're leveraging a fresh group of people by scrubbing your list on a consistent basis. So there's some key challenges to doing this. One, you could lose interest. If your message isn't interesting and you don't touch base appropriately, and you've got to give them a chance to basically get engaged on this. If you're sending all your product, if you're sending developers nothing but sales opportunities, you're going to lose interest with these guys. And if you don't make it sound somewhat interesting, whether it's from a benefits or an opportunity or uniqueness of the role, you're going to lose people. Lack of knowledge. If people don't know this site exists and the ability to go sign up for this, you're never going to get anyone. So you've got to make it very prominent on your website. You've got to tell your current employees. You've got to email job board candidates. Many of you have access to resume databases. If you do, this is probably a great way to go market these opportunities out. Email past applicants to let them know that there's a new talent network. We want to keep them up to date and have them go join that network. It's almost like them applying for a new job by staying up to date with that one. And promote on search engines. Some of you may be familiar with Google Ads and using Google AdWords, but essentially there's ways here to go promote this. And one of the best ways to promote these opportunities on your search engines is by posting jobs on key sites. That'll raise your stats as far as the overall hits. So that's critical. Drop off. Again, you'll have drop off if you've got non-interesting messaging. You've got to give specific opportunities and why they want that. Ask why people are leaving when they do drop off. Why is it? Why they're not interested? If you've got the ability to do that. Listen to them and fix the problems. And if you spam them on a weekly basis, you're going to lose people. Nobody likes getting hit with that kind of messaging. My recommendation is you probably look at a 3 to 4 week cycle on when to send out messaging and make it consistent so they know it's coming and there's consistency around that. Poor execution. Don't roll this out until you've got a plan. This is your first real reach out, so you've got to educate first. This is a bit of a practice of change management. Candidates aren't necessarily aware and used to this kind of an approach. So it's critical that when you first reach out to them, give them some education on what you're trying to do. That should be an educational email. And keep it interesting and keep it strategic and keep it applicable. If you've got a poor brand, Again, this is a phenomenal way for you to improve your brand.